Hi YouTube family, Lisa A. Romano here, the ACOA Life Coach, and I'm going to bring you today some real life skills that you can apply right here, right now, to help you ACOAs out there in codependence and alike to get unstuck energetically. One of the most common complaints I have from clients is, Lisa, I feel so stuck. I just can't get moving. I feel like I keep coming back to the same energetic spot. I get 10 steps forward and then I get pulled 20 steps back. What's going on? Well, what's happening is energetically we've been rooted to a certain spot in time. And I often say this, they don't call it the root chakra for nothing. And the way I look at the root chakra, I imagine that if I was wounded when I was 2 or 3, or I received a very impactful negative message from my parents about myself when I was 2. And it happens. We wound babies at 2. We can hurt a baby's feelings and get them to hate themselves or feel ugly or feel confused about their worth, and we can get them to doubt whether or not we love them just by the way we look at them. I've seen it, and it was, and unfortunately it was done to me. My mother would look at me a certain way and I just felt awful. I felt full of guilt and shame. I was 4, I was 5. And so what happens in those moments is the more we trust the person who has wounded us, the more it impacts us. And what happens to us is that our emotions become extremely electrically charged. Extremely electrically charged. So the deeper the wound, the more the charge, the electrical charge. And then what happens? So just imagine that in that moment when you're receiving that wounding from that person that you love and adore and who's like God to you, in that moment what happens is you get energetically rooted to that spot. And it's very difficult for you to move forward later on in life, because what we end up doing is we also, at the same time that we're getting wounded, what's happening? When we're born, we have this blank slate. Our brain is blank. And so we really rely on the people in our experience to tell us who we are. And we also rely on the people in our experience to give meaning to the thing that is us. So we don't come into this world knowing whether or not we are worthwhile. We need the outside world to tell us what's important and whether or not we have value. And so when we have parents who help us believe that we're not worthy, we get this screen that I want you to imagine your brain, and then I want you to see a screen being put down in between both hemispheres of your brain, and it cuts your both hemispheres in half. So now and that happens right before the pineal gland. So now what happens is I get wounded by my outer experiences, and then that gets imprinted in my feeling body, and my brain has to interpret what those feelings mean. And so now I get a screen. Now I get an image on the screen in my mind. So I've been affected emotionally, and the brain has to interpret the emotions. So it has to translate the emotions. And how the brain translates emotions is into pictures. We give meaning to things with pictures. So what ends up happening is we have this screen. We get these feelings, these woundings. Our brain interprets the emotions, the vibrations. They interpret the vibrations. Our brain organizes the vibrations into a picture that we can understand in our mind. The outer world creates the inner picture, and then what do, dear ones? Because we think we're so smart. We go out and we project those images onto the world. So if mom and dad were critical of us, we're critical of us. But you know what else? It doesn't stop there. So now we're driving along in the car, and we're like, look at that fat slob over there. Who's that guy think he is? That girl should get her hair done. What's that guy doing with those glasses on? Who does he think he is? This is what we do, dear ones. We are so critical of other people. And then you know what? Okay, then you know what happens? We walk into a room and we feel like all eyes are on us. She's talking about me. I know she doesn't like my shoes. I know that girl's talking about my hair. I know that girl wishes she was me. That girl hates me. This is what we're doing to ourselves, dear one, and it all goes back to the messages that we received about self in our childhood. So I'd like you to watch this video a number of times, because there are a lot of things here in this 5-minute video that I have shared with you that are going to help you, if you embrace it, move forward. Got to move forward. What I want you to do is start paying attention to the labels you give yourself all damn day. Okay? If you can, trace it back to a moment in time in your childhood. Where did that label come from? And then let it go. Look at it, stare at it. Know that at the end of your spiritual journey, I am everything and everything is me. I am you and you are me. I have been that confused single mom, not knowing what the hell she's doing, who's been desperate and crying herself to sleep over a gallon of ice cream, with a gallon of ice cream. I've been that desperate. I have been that rageful father who is losing control over his family dynamic because the wife wants to leave him. I've been that angry. I've been the parent who doesn't know what the hell to do next because the kids are acting up and things are showing up in my experience. And I've never done this thing before. I would tell my son all the time, "You're my oldest. Like I haven't been a mother like 10 times before this. Like, you're it, kid. I'm learning as I go. So I'm gonna make mistakes." And so I've been that confused mom. I've been that child who wants to rebel because my mother's such a controlling maniac. I've been not so wealthy. I've had more than I could spend at one time in my life, and I've had points in my life where I didn't have anything. I lived well, and then all of a sudden I wasn't living well. And so I am everything, and everything is me. And that's where you eventually end up. But I want you to focus on how it is that you can correct that filter that's in your mind that mom and dad screwed up, and now you're projecting onto other people as well as yourself. Please subscribe, dear one. This is my passion. I love to enlighten you, and I love to help you become the illuminated being that you were meant to be. And how do we become illuminated? We face these things head on, and we merge spirituality and science. And when we do that, amazing things happen. We begin to understand how to use our mind to our advantage and how our mind has been used against us to manipulate us. And then we learn to take back control to our own self. So I hope this has inspired you, dear one. You are loved. I bow to the love and to the light in you. Namaste.